today, the deranged story of Daniel Larson. Now, I know a little bit about Daniel Larson because I watch this guy right here actually, Papa Gut. I'm a huge Papa Gut supporter. And so from what I remember, I haven't kept up recently with him, but from what I remember, he was a TikTok guy that had a crush on someone named, I think it was like Grace Vanderwall. I think that's the name. She was like on America's Got Talent or something like that. I'm pretty sure she was a minor, and he was, yeah, not a minor, and he had a crush on her, and he always used to talk about wanting to date her, blah blah blah. And he also thinks he's like the president, and people trolled him, blah 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 blah. But I don't know anything like recent. I don't know the entire story. I just know little chunks here and there. So we should be able to enjoy this. If you wish to watch this video by Turkey Tom, the video will be in the description down below.
Larson. It's a name
That's
you've
in a
probably
short
heard.
Cyrex vid. Let's see what your definition of short is, Elmo. Okay. Okay, we'll watch that right after this one. I lied. This isn't the last video we're going to be reacting to.
In the past few months, but if I had to guess, you likely don't know who he is. Neither did I. A quick Google search returned images of an unorthodox looking man, as well as page after page of links to TikTok. Daniel is someone that, upon first glance, it's not hard to tell that he's somewhat troubled mentally. However, everything has its limits. Not every mentally troubled person is created equal. Some of them seek help for their problems, while others find their therapy in flashing random strangers in the park. Case in point, Mr. Daniel Larson, or how he has been nicknamed by his faithful following, Danderson. This one is gonna get funny, it's gonna get weird, and it's also gonna get pretty dark. Let's go.
So, I'm gonna talk about my life and about what's going on with me and my disability and the mental health system.
As revealed in a now deleted
Talk
video
to me.
he posted to one of his accounts on TikTok, Daniel was born in 1998, which makes him 23 to 24 right now. In this video, he claims to have been abused by his mother when he was a toddler, which resulted in him being taken away from her by social services. This is also confirmed in an unrelated news segment that ran on a Denver TV station called KWGN. The segment wasn't on Daniel in particular, but instead on the Tennyson Center for Children, a foster home to which he was relocated when he was put in the custody of his grandmother, Nancy Scheimer. According to the reporter narrating the piece, Nancy moved from California to Denver to be Danny's legal guardian when she caught wind that he was suffering extreme neglect in his parents' home. Danny also claims that before he was even in preschool, he was diagnosed with developmental disabilities, autism, ADHD, and bipolar disorder, diagnoses which he came to eventually question altogether. After a year and a half living in Tennyson, he would go on to live with his grandmother for years. This newsreel was broadcasted in 2012, when Daniel must have been roughly 14 years old. His grandmother says that, though he was difficult to deal with initially, Daniel started behaving a lot better after a while. It certainly shows, as after his first public appearance, Daniel seemed to not get himself involved in any trouble at all for years. Presumably, it's during this time that he first pursued his now often mentioned objective of being an actor or singer. However, this peaceful period ends in 2019, when Nancy passed away, which was also confirmed by Daniel himself. After his grandmother's passing, Daniel was briefly sponsored by a man named Bob Proctor, who he recounts meeting at a reading buddy program at the Tennyson Center. Due to how well they got along with each other at the time, they became permanent reading buddies. As they bonded over board games, Bob also befriended Daniel's grandmother. And knowing how much she cared for him, Bob decided to take up the...
How do you bond over a board game? Because when we played Monopoly, I had no friends. Just enemies.
mantle of Daniel's caretaker when Nancy would no longer be able to carry it. Easier said than done. Daniel frequently pays Bob lip service, calling him his mentor and thanking him for financing his music career. Keep in mind here that I use the terms financing and music career very loosely, considering he did little
no,
more
I see that in
than
like
pay for a
stores,
couple
and
of
I
royalty-free sounding basic
get so
instrumentals
bored by
for
the thought
Daniel
of it.
to sing or rap over. This support
I
resulted
love
in
Trouble,
cult
though.
classics in the Danderson community, such as Gang Life, an excerpt of which I'll now grace your ears with.
Fell in love with me, pull her like a lasso, and on her face, turn that into a Picasso.
Why do we both pause? Wait. Why do we both pause it? What is with these bars?
How's that for avant-garde? This song, much to the general public's chagrin, was just one of Daniel's many forays into the music industry. It seems he was very attached to the idea that this pursuit of his would eventually lead him to becoming a celebrity. Often, he would act as if he'd already achieved fame and got a record deal with a major label, sporadically changing which one depending on the headcanon he has at the time.
I am now with Atlantic Records.
This particular part of the odyssey of Daniel Larson began in March 2020, when he began posting on TikTok on an account that no longer exists called @DanielLarsonFans. You might wonder why it's named as if it were a fan.
This is gonna sound weird, but doesn't he look like a combination between an eagle and a bunny? Like imagine you got like a pot, right? You put a man, an eagle, and a bunny in there. You'll get Daniel. Did you just say Stratego is boring? One of the most active board games? I never played it. It just looked boring. Just from what I seen, the box art just didn't intrigue me. Am I thinking about the right one? Or am I thinking about something else? Because I feel like either I'm thinking about the wrong thing or I don't remember what I'm talking about. Yeah, no, this is right. I'm right. This is it. It looks just as boring as I thought I remembered. This. I just it's like this and Clue. I just can't. I challenge you. I don't accept. I surrender. You win. He was very bad. No, we're not gonna slander my name. They said I was very bad at Monopoly. There was 5 of us playing, right? I was the last two. The last two. Mind you, they were writing me off as about to lose after they surrendered. They were writing me off like, oh, he's already out the game. He's basically already lost. Breathen lost. Then Jersey lost. So now it's me and Liana, and she owns the entire board. I have maybe a single side, and there's not much I can do there. So honestly, the fact that I surpassed you is better than winning, honestly, because I was never expected to win. I wasn't even expecting to get to second place, but I did it.
Account of his, but it's actually par for the course in the Daniel Larson extended universe.
Y'all seen the video? I had a lot of
During his
money.
many
I had a lot of
different
Monopoly
nodes of
money.
online
Y'all seen
presence, there is a common theme, which is Daniel posturing as if he were already an established personality. Initially, his videos consisted of little more than him announcing his interest in becoming an actor and singer. Because of his unorthodox appearance and janky demeanor, people in the comment section began to ironically hype him
Wasn't
up,
luck.
effectively leading him to believe that he had fans. Even though, at this point, his following was very small, the few people egging him on was more than enough to get to his head, as on July 14th, he would suggest a run for presidency. The cycle would repeat, as after this, people would not only start telling him he had good chances, but often referred to him as Mr. President. 4 days later,
I'm not playing
he would announce that he was
Stratego.
working on an album.
I'm not.
A few months after that,
Maybe if Discord
he formally
adds it, I
announced
might.
his run for presidency. And it was around this time that his TikTok got really big, as many in the audience saw him as the next Chris Chan or Terry A. Davis. Just a month later, his TikTok hit 1 million views.
Okay, I'm sorry to keep sidetracking. It's only 5 minutes in, but I just wanted to say that. Did you guys know I was on Urban Dictionary? Did y'all know that? It's a fun fact. It's a pretty cool, pretty good tidbit. If you type in Saimir Shogun, I don't know how I got there, honestly. And it's pretty modest, but an amazing person who has the best YouTube and Twitch, and he has the best taste in anime, One Piece. Damn, damn, that nigga Saimir Shogun is downright amazing. Nigward's left testy. You know, I'm just saying. You know, hit a like. I'm just saying, you know, Urban Dictionary never lies.
The comical aspect of Daniel's online presence was reaching its peak as a phenomenon called the fog began happening throughout his TikTok videos. It seems that his front
Hey, it's
camera
Papa
began
Gut.
functioning, most likely due to Daniel hitting it in a fit of rage, as he would eventually become known to do. This made the image look foggy, and because of the meme that began surfacing at the time, wherein people would post cryptic references to a Lovecraftian fog that consumed everything in its path, the comments got flooded with fog references. Of course, Daniel was not technologically savvy enough to understand what happened to his camera, let alone fix it. The fact that everyone was commenting
If you do anything with AIP related, I'm gonna probably be entangled within it somehow. If you made a Stratego AIP based AIP game, I'm most likely gonna play it. Guaranteed. You know, I'm a simple man.
about the fog did not seem to matter
Just like,
very
look
much
at
to
that-
him,
look at that
as the
sniffer.
fog kept coming and going in his videos, essentially becoming an unintended running gag. And with that, the cult following he had gathered slowly went from uninvolved spectators to active trolls, as people began noticing how, due to his mental issues, Daniel was very easy to trick into doing unsavory things. He was always
Wait. Can I tell you a story real quick? So I took the keycaps off my keyboard for the first time the other day because I was cleaning it, and I lost one of the keys, so I had to replace it with an older keyboard I had. So, just here, one of these keys do not look like the other. Can y'all tell which one it is? Can y'all tell which key is the one that got replaced? Like, you'll definitely be able to tell once I angle it this way. You'll see one key is a lot, and I mean a lot shallower than the other. I have no idea where it went. It flew off when I went to take it off. It just flew away. Hopefully we find it one day.
always very active in his own comment sections, and it seems he hardly ever doubted anything anyone told him. When a comment would show up claiming to be a scout for a record label, soon after, Daniel would start making videos saying he worked for said record label. But that was only the mildest manifestation of this behavior pattern. By convincing Daniel they were his managers, they got him to say he loved CP, which, he goes on to clarify, is actually about Club Penguin. As time went on, his interactions with people that commented on his post became more and more involved, eventually culminating in a live fan stream where he would elaborate on his plans for his music career. So far, the entire story was well within the realm of normalcy and lightheartedness. However, as situations like these inevitably do, it quickly went south. On the 20th of November, Daniel's Pinterest account was found and leaked. The activity on the account was seriously disturbing. There was a list of pins dubbed Girl Crushes that included singer Grace Vanderwall and ventriloquist Darcy Lynn Farmer, both of whom were around 16 years old at the time. If that
What are they
wasn't
blurring
disturbing
out?
enough, the pictures themselves tended to be from when they were even younger than that. Another board on his Pinterest included a map that listed the age of consent in each state. After this information got around,
That's
Daniel turned to his
crazy.
TikTok to acknowledge that the Pinterest was indeed his and apologize. Some people have said that he was coerced in some way to make this apology video by his managers, who we'll get into later. But the most damning Pinterest activities were happening long before Daniel started getting online attention. When Daniel noticed that an apology would not suffice to get people off his back for doing what he'd done, he began claiming that his account was hacked. Due to how believable that was given Daniel's technological illiteracy, some people actually fell for this explanation. In a live stream by an account called Roach Records, a group of people that seemed closer than the average follower of Daniel's interrogated him about the Pinterest account. To add insult to injury, these Pinterest leaks helped to recontextualize certain seemingly random videos of little kids Daniel had uploaded to his TikTok and YouTube, along with liked videos of children in vulnerable positions. His excuse was that those accounts were hacked as well after he gave the login information to someone called Fine Dining. Even if that was true for the Pinterest account, which it probably couldn't be, it couldn't explain how someone could hack Daniel into duetting little girls on TikTok, as the people in the live stream point out. This doesn't even come close to addressing the fact that, in another video, he not only admits the boards are his, but that he used them to pleasure himself, in a clear admission of guilt. But that was only when Daniel was admitting there was a Pinterest account of his at all, since he would sometimes pretend he had no idea what Pinterest even was, or that the account was never his.
What?
Whether with or without the involvement of the untrustworthy manager trolls, it seemed a lot like Daniel had a big penchant for lying or purposely misleading people when he was confronted about something.
Somebody was telling me of some type of social platform called Pinterest. Huh. I wonder what type of printer it uses.
So, a few months go by with more of the usual. Daniel uploading videos that range from him being delusional about being a famous celebrity to doing trick requests. In the few times he did choose to address the allegations, he'd emphatically reiterate that literally everything that
Daniel, let's been
incriminated
listening to
him
Andrew
was
Tate.
fake and a product of his former management. You'd think that, now that he's throwing them under the bus, he'd realize that the managers weren't really managers at all, and were just trolling him. However, Danderson's naivete gets the best of him, and he closes the video off by saying he is now signed with Interscope and Party House Records, meaning he just swapped his first group of managers for another. He proceeds to lump in anyone who tried to hold him accountable or get him to address the situation, such as Roach Records, with his former management. This meant that, even if there was someone trying to manipulate Daniel into doing bad things, there was no way to figure out who did what. In another video he made to clarify the Pinterest incident, he claims that people were showing up at his doorstep and taking pictures of his house, which may or may not be true considering that, at this point, he was
Did he use Drake as a hashtag? Blake Shelton? Huh?
well known, and people did know where he lived. In the subreddit dedicated to him, there are multiple posts of people who happen to randomly find Daniel, which means it's probably not a very hard thing to do. One thing he mentions that is verifiably true is that people were making hundreds of dollars worth of pizza orders to his house, since he documented at least one instance of it happening on his TikTok.
So there's currently an argument going on downstairs about the pizza deliveries from yesterday. We had a total of 3 people deliver pizza all within a 30-minute period.
Were they already paid for?
Unpaid.
Oh.
After mentioning the prank pizza orders, he goes on to say that his management had persuaded him to audition for an adult film on a Zoom call. And when he presumably began doing something humiliating, they added over 100 fans of his to the call who supposedly witnessed it all. It's very hard to sift through what is true and what isn't, considering how much of this story involves pathological lying, incompetence, miscommunication, and essentially lost pieces of information due to how many different deleted accounts Daniel had. Regardless, all of this marked a turn into a much darker direction for his story.
So I'm assuming these
He
are
closes
underage
it off
children
by
that
saying that
he's
he's hired a private
locking out.
investigator, and all of this situation was orchestrated by the media to smear him, because he's an upcoming superstar singer. Those statements are probably equally untrue, as Daniel definitely could not afford something like a private investigator, given that he had no source of income and was living off of the charity of benefactors. What stands out to me is that he mentions that message exchanges had been faked to incriminate him, when, so far, it's difficult to find a particular mention of something like that. So what on earth is he talking about? Well, we're about to find out. At this point in time, it's basically impossible to accurately contextualize Daniel's online activities, as he grew more erratic, delusional, and antagonistic with his own audience as time went by. At the end of April, in one of his many attempts to ape typical celebrity behavior, he would post a tribute to comedian Blake Shelton for Black Lives Matter. He consummates the deed by doing his own version of jumping jacks in an empty street. This is actually a theme throughout Daniel's videos, which could be a result of his manager's suggestions, just as much as it could be because he likes doing them. Similarly, he made a jumping jack video asking for the George Floyd riots to stop, as well as another one where he seems to believe that the riots are being done by his fans. On the 1st of May, Daniel would post a video to his YouTube channel shouting out none other than EDP445, essentially empathizing with a sex offender and suggesting that they should do a collab in the future. I honestly can't really make a comment about that would make it funnier or darker than it already is. But soon, a new era would begin in the Larson verse, dubbed the headset era, due to every video being recorded with Daniel donning a comically large headset on his head, even when he is running outside for whatever reason.
Whoever is trying to...
Maybe we need to start narrowing the qualifications to make a YouTube channel. You know, maybe we need to like really bottleneck who can get into making content. Yeah, I'm just saying. After Chris, I feel like we really should start planning a new route, you know, a new directive. Now we got Cyrax and Daniel. And Chris is coming back, so now we really need to like tighten our grip on this.
Call me right now needs to stop.
Are you serious right now?
I realize I'm a If you guys don't
On the same day, he would publish a video called Daniel Larson Supports Transgender Mouth, in which he says, in support of Trans Awareness Month, he is now transgender.
Oh,
It is
month.
unknown why he did this, since there is no further reference to this ever again. While his attempts at saving face from the Pinterest account fiasco were still ongoing, a new bombshell was soon to drop.
Does he have only 2 teeth?
The May 6th incident, as the Larson heads have dubbed it. Despite how ominous the name sounds, it does not do justice to the psychological trauma inflicted by it. On that date, Daniel releases his first live concert on TikTok, consisting of him playing music in his headset, which is completely inaudible to the watchers, and singing alone outdoors. So far, it seems like run-of-the-mill content for Daniel. Later that same day, however, he announced that he was planning to quit TikTok, but not before doing a live stream where he would audition for an adult film. This instantly set off an alarm among his followers, because he had previously spoken about being manipulated into doing exactly the same thing by his former managers. Everyone saw what was coming next, yet could not help themselves from looking at it nonetheless. The live stream began, and people began joining it en masse and wait for their expectations to be fulfilled. Like clockwork, as soon as enough people were watching, Daniel would pull his pants down and expose himself to the camera, until his live stream was shut down and his account got permanently banned. Just a few hours later, he would resurface in another account claiming, once again, that he'd gotten hacked, as if that explained or justified anything at all.
Hello everyone, this is my new account. Please follow this new account. This is my new account. Once again, this is my new account.
According to the Daniel Larson wiki, and yes, he does have a wiki managed by his loyal followers who have undertaken the burden of documenting his story as it unravels, Daniel was convinced by one of his former managers, Flexburger. In addition to the TikTok live, he also concurrently posted a picture of his genitalia to his YouTube community page, though that seems to now be lost media, probably for the best. It's difficult to say what exactly followed or preceded these events, but it was amidst these conflicts that Daniel declared war on Flexburger, as well as warning his...
I was wondering what this was in the
It's
corner.
difficult to say what exactly followed or preceded these events,
Like
but
an
it was amidst
explosion?
these conflicts
And
that
then look over
Daniel
here.
declared war
Airplanes?
on Flexburger, as well as warning his fans against looking at pictures of his ding-a-ling. What seems to have been the case is that Flexburger was one of the first people to discover firsthand about Daniel's Pinterest account, and because of this, decided to go on a campaign to expose Daniel. This included leaking private audios of Daniel talking about Sky Brown, a 12-year-old British-Japanese skateboarder, in a very suggestive way. Along with this, he pretended he was a minor and texted Daniel in classic to catch a predator form. Much to the collective dismay of his fans, it worked on Daniel every single time, as he would always say the worst things imaginable to people he thought were minor.
Can I see your picture? True, I don't want media backlash, but we can't. Oh. Oof.
Soliciting them and, occasionally, bringing in Grace Vanderwall, his go-to obsession, into the conversation, just to express how he felt about her. Wall,
I'm
his
sorry,
go-to
wait.
obsession.
Wait, actually, I want to see what they're saying.
Soliciting them and, occasionally, bringing in Grace
Can sexual pleasure hurt? Daniel, why are you asking me? Just curious. I don't know. I couldn't tell you that one. Okay, poop. Do you think Grace Vanderwall is a very... Are you there? Daniel, what would your father think if he saw that? I am 22.
Vanderwall, his go-to obsession, into the...
Good poop. Good morning, poop master. For now on, anyone that texts me has to refer to me as the poop master. Don't do that. Please do not do that. That was a joke. I do not wish to be called that. I want to stick my... Oh. We know. We know. Yes. I want to... She is... Isn't she lesbian? No. Oh. Daniel, please go back to sleep.
the conversation, just to express how he felt about her. This was what Daniel was talking about when he mentioned the text messages. Daniel addressed all of this by announcing a lockdown and expressing all of his anger towards Flex, while saying that he would set the FBI on him. And hey, I guess you can do what you want when you're the president. What's surprising is that, even after this, Flexburger still managed to successfully pretend his way back into Daniel's good graces as Josh, an Interscope manager. It was under the Josh guise that he caused the May 6th incident. If it weren't enough, just a single day later, while everyone was still reeling from it, Daniel would go on another TikTok livestream on his new account and expose himself again. Now, not only did this bring a lot of attention to Daniel, but it also put a lot of things into context. Eventually, people put 2 and 2 together and connected the allegations with a bunch of other very incriminating clips. Examples of these include Daniel pledging to legalize child molestation when he was president, saying he repents for whacking it to pictures of children.
That should have been the biggest giveaway. I'm not a political guy, but I'm pretty sure no politician ever made that claim on the stand.
Children and Grace Vanderwall, as well as apologizing for having 500 megabytes of CP, so on and so forth.
If you became president, will you make pedophilia illegal or legal?
So, I would. It's kind of interesting.
He already has his prison number.
Very good point. In my opinion, if underage can actually do with the consent of parents.
Damn, bro.
You know,
who's holding the camera? Bro. You can't be the camp man no more. You can't do this no more, bro. He's in there hyperventilating. I can't.
They do it the right way.
A lot of people had chalked these up to him being a mouthpiece for whatever his deranged followers were telling him to do. But now it seemed as if this was no one's own doing but Daniel's. And even if people were laughing at him, to Daniel, it may not have been a joke at all. In another TikTok from just a little before the incident, Daniel claims he was spoken to by his parole officer about him potentially going to jail over something he'd done.
Hello, this is Daniel Larson.
He's the oldest 24-year-old I've ever seen.
With my probation officer for not following the probation rules.
He opened the new one.
There was a miscommunication. He said if it happens anymore, I will go to jail.
Though he never specifies what it was over, people connected this to a period of 3 weeks during which he was absent. Despite giving a bunch of different, conflicting reasons to explain this absence, most likely it was due to his PO catching wind of his first adult movie audition, since, as he himself says, the people that were put into the Zoom call with him while he was doing it included at least a few children. From this point onwards, the amount of accounts that get created, hacked, or allegedly hacked, and then deleted is simply too great for me to go over each and every one of them. So I'll be focusing more on the general events. On May 11th...
Imagine you were just like someone scrolling through the TikTok lives at the time. It's like, boring, boring. Oh, that's a penis. Boring. Like, those poor people, man.
11th, Danderson goes on another live stream, but this time he's having a meeting with the therapist appointed to work his case. Some interpreted this as a good sign that Daniel was seeking treatment for his many issues. This is immediately shot down by the fact that the entire live stream was recorded without the therapist's knowledge. Not only that, but it's safe to say that the only reason it was being broadcasted in the first place was so that Daniel could show people he was talking to a therapist. To make matters worse, he repeatedly told her he'd gotten 40 million views, which was a blatant lie to make her think that he was famous. In the Daniel Larson story, any sign of improvement is certain to be a mirage. Around this same time was when possibly the most infamous of Daniel's pathologies would become completely
he has to have
unbridled
only 2
as
teeth.
he would stop suppressing his extremely unhealthy obsession with Grace Vanderwall and just started being public about it all the time, beginning on May 12th with a seemingly benign, though obviously false declaration that he and Grace had some kind of collab in the works that would be coming out soon. This quickly escalated to him telling random strangers on the street that he is dating
I think
her,
this is when I
to
started
him recording
paying
multiple
attention
videos
to this.
moaning and whispering
Yeah,
in a
this is
way,
where I
Grace,
know.
to being broken up with by her, to apologizing for the sexual videos he made about her. I will definitely not go into the details, but Even if he was pushed to thinking Grace Vanderwall was dating him by malicious trolls, he certainly went above and beyond the Call of Duty in ways that I refuse to get into the details about. Whenever he wasn't doing that, he was doing the exact same thing to the aforementioned Darcy Lynn, Sky Brown, or some combination of them. However, he always reserved a
I personally believe that TikTok should make a feature to where you cannot upload to TikTok when you're under a certain age. I feel like we should really stop people, or not just certain ages, but also like, you know, certain reasons. I feel like you shouldn't be able to upload to TikTok. Some people really do not need that power.
a special place
We're directly
for Grace
halfway through
as
the
his
video.
primary
That's
target
perfect.
of harassment and delusion. Every once in a while, a post of Grace's on TikTok
Get
or
Larsoned.
Instagram would get Larsoned, meaning Daniel would go on it and comment hundreds of short sentences as if he were having a conversation with her. During one of these bouts of delusion mixed with
Nigga said
instigation from the
apologize.
audience, a very distraught Daniel, seemingly because he is
How
without
about Daniel
access to
Larson
his phone,
filter?
posts to TikTok
I'm cool.
in absolute despair, asking people to get him information. Based on the things he says during these uploads, he is under the impression that there has been some kind of accident and that the Vanderwall family,
I mean, it look
who
like
he
you're
believes
flashing
was
your
in
wiener.
contact with him up
Elmo, I hope you know some of your comments are more incriminating for you than they are for me.
this
Your
point
comments have
is
become more and more
refusing to give him
incriminating.
information in regards to what happened to Grace. During the video, he hits himself and threatens to end his own life. Later, on the 4th of July, he uploads a video to YouTube titled Rest in Peace Dave and Grace Vanderwall, where he mourns their passing, which obviously has not happened, just to be clear. Somehow, he
head's, like, so
simultaneously
small.
believes she took her own life and had a heart attack. But before he does any of that, he admits to and apologizes for sending minors and sending Grace, or whoever he thought was Grace, a picture of his dingling. He promises to carry on her legacy and repent for the bad choices he's made. In a strange way, this peak delusion of thinking that not only was he dating Grace, but that she'd passed away and asked him to carry on her legacy, managed to make Daniel sound remarkably sober, and even if, just for a moment, truly self-aware. Eventually, he did figure out that Grace hadn't died, and his regular obsessive
No, he has more than one
posting about
tooth.
her
I
resumed
can see him back there.
instantly, with his headcanon being that they are periodically dating and breaking up. In an even less sensical turn of events, this whole obsession of his eventually did culminate in him getting contacted by the Vanderwall team, namely Grace's mother, Tina Vanderwall, though it wasn't on the best of terms. Stop saying my daughter's name. Stop saying you are in a relationship with her. You are scaring her and our family. Everything you have said and done has been in your own mind. You need to access some mental health support and stop harassing my daughter. I have contacted the authorities and will continue to press the issue if you don't stop making disturbing videos. Your followers have harassed my daughter long enough. Stop. To which Daniel succinctly replied with the emotionally healthy response of, I understand. I'm ending my life tonight. Of
Now, y'all, as the mom, would you really be sad? Just put yourself as one of the parents, right? Would you be sad? Would you really be upset? Would you be like, no, don't do it. No, you have so much. Cause if I was the mom, I, I, I would, you know.
Of course, he didn't actually do anything, but this interaction with Grace's mom would go on to be the base of his online posts for quite some time after. He would post multiple videos apologizing to the Vanderwall family and continually addressing the allegations, which he randomly fluctuated between admitting to his misdeeds and pretending they didn't happen at all. Eventually, in an act of what I can only describe as empathy, Tina made a comment on one of his live streams. God, Daniel, do you think I'm watching your lives? Whoever just contacted you claiming to be me was not me. I don't want you to talk about Grace or our family anymore. I have only replied to you once when you DM'd me a couple of weeks ago. Then I told you to stop saying Grace's name, but clearly you refused to listen. Stop all of this. Everyone communicating with you are trolls, trying to get you to do crazy things. please stop. Daniel would reply, okay, I understand. I have a important question if you don't mind. But no response would come. Eventually,
I wanna know
the
that
Grace
question.
posting would dwindle, but never quite die down. His continued campaign on Grace intermittently revives whenever
His nose
someone
is
takes
so
the time to
red.
make a fake account, claiming to be the real Grace, and interact with him again, resulting in oddities such as a video Daniel made claiming she was being raped by her father. One of the most recent examples, from 5 months ago, has him once again apologizing and trying to get back into contact with her, trying to guilt trip her by saying that he has a heart disease from heartbreak, if you can believe that. Every once in a while, Daniel shows signs of considering that the people claiming to be Grace or associated with her in some way are just trolls. Unfortunately, every time he comes close to realizing it,
Y'all, if I ever get this bad, like if I let fame get to me this much, boom me. I have strayed away from the path of good. You know? Take me out the gene pool.
shoots it down as soon as he remembers that, to take it seriously, he would have to accept that Grace never wanted anything to do with him, which it seems he's unable to do. Quite the Romeo and Juliet story, if I may say so myself. The same month as the peak of the Grace fiasco happened, July of 2021, Daniel would upload his first completely original song, Roaring Thunder, though it would take a while longer for it to be properly published. 1 month later, in August, Daniel manages to somehow perform it in front of an audience. Even though it was pretty empty, the fact that he actually got to do an in-person concert is very impressive for a guy as troubled as Daniel. Maybe you've heard the saying, for every dark cloud, there's a silver lining. When it comes to Daniel...
I need to know what Rolling Thunder sounds like. I'm sorry. I have to. It's my job.
Story,
Not really.
if I may
I'm not
say
getting
so
paid for this.
myself.
But it's like a job. Rolling Thunder. Daniel. Oh, Roaring Thunder. Whoops. 4 minutes. We're gonna listen to like the first few seconds. How can you see into my eyes, my open door?
It's been mine, but I have to be free. Golden sunsets, reflections on the sea, a reminder of what used to be. Roaring thunder.
It doesn't sound that bad. Hey, I was expecting the worst. At minimum, it sounds like a song. It sounds like the worst song from the Muppets. You know, at its best, it's the worst song from the Muppets. It's not that bad, at least from what I heard.
Larson, it's exactly backwards, as every glimmer of hope or wholesomeness is immediately followed by another crushing example of just how demented this guy is. On the same day as the concert, he uploads a 3-minute video of an altercation he was having with one of his caretakers,
I remember
Jonas.
this too.
It
Okay.
seems from the video that this fight happened because Jonas was trying to take his phone away for whatever reason, which honestly is highly justifiable considering the stuff
Very
Daniel was
justifiable.
doing on it. Since Daniel shows
He should have taken that phone, destroyed it, smelted it, turned it into an iron block, throw it into a volcano, then poured water into said volcano, causing it to dry up.
every sign of being extremely addicted to social media, his reaction was to become hysterical and overdramatic, acting as if Jonas was assaulting him, a move he's done multiple times over his career, if you can call it that. 1 month later, Daniel would be formally charged with destruction of private property. Though I obviously will not reveal the location of where this crime occurred, it looks to be just someone's house, and not an establishment or store or something to that effect, meaning it was probably the result of a random fit of rage from Daniel.
He's
According to
5'10". He's the same height as Chris. They have the same height, same hair color, same race.
the court documents, he
Kinda
failed to show up to
spooky.
court a total of 4 times, and the case status is still open to this day. This marks the beginning of another era in the Danderson lore, the Mohawk era, when Daniel gives himself
Elmo.
a haircut based on the suggestions of another fake Grace account. His fans discovered that he'd gone to California and
Don't worry, Elmo.
uploaded a video,
I'll make sure it
which
doesn't
is
happen.
no longer accessible, explaining that he'd been dropped by his disability services and was homeless in Los Angeles, though the fans would also confirm that was not true based on his surroundings. Soon enough, he'd once again be back in Denver.
That's such a beautiful, oh my, that's just such a beautiful horizon. Oh my goodness.
Because his caseworker discovered he'd gone to California
I
by
love it.
himself and took him back. As a consequence of his issues with the disability service that was hosting him up until this point, he gets transferred to St. Francis Mental Hospital in Colorado Springs. Due to the less eventful than average nature of this period, very little of it has been archived and preserved. A few highlights that remain are Daniel declaring his hatred for the police, followed by the usual jumping jacks routine. Possibly because his CEO
Fuck 12 hashtag.
gave him a hard time about him leaving the States, Daniel went through a police hate arc, uploading other videos saying he hates the police, one of them in which he attempts to twerk while seemingly having an erection. You could not make this up, truly.
I didn't want to
Concurrent
pause
with
on that.
these uploads, he also makes the claim that his situation
Why? Why?
with one
Why
of his
does he even have a
managers is
TikTok?
being monitored
He
by
should have
the
been
police
IP
with
banned
assistance from
immediately.
none other than Mr. Adolf himself. You know, I was really wondering when he'd get brought into this story. There is a very strong tinge of paranoia during this era, with Daniel occasionally saying that Tony Soprano is outside of his house trying to kill him, and that he's being persecuted by, and this is Daniel saying it, not me, Goldberg Shackelstein. To be honest, I don't think Daniel is capable of spelling anti-Semitic, let alone understanding what it means enough to actually believe in it. Most likely, this was the work of someone online harassing him into saying these things. Come the beginning of 2022, and we have Daniel claiming that Grace is pregnant with the child of her grandfather, Donald Trump. If that's not enough of a bombastic revelation for you, he also reveals that she has been receiving death threats from Joe Biden, and that she will be taking shelter in his city.
You know, I heard Joe Biden, Donald Trump, and Obama play Roblox together. They played Minecraft together too. So it's not too far-fetched to believe they had those combos while playing Minecraft.
In January. Though this sounds extremely foreboding, nothing actually happened, as you can imagine. One extremely off-putting thing about this period is that Daniel was actually given his own apartment to live in, where he would be checked in on by a handler 3 times a week. Whoever set this up for him definitely did not take into account how much of a danger he is to himself and others, since within a few short months of his moving, he posted a video showing that he'd broken his television and put holes in his walls. According to him, he did this under threat, saying that this is what happens when he's told what to do. When this video was relayed onto his subreddit, an account called Lootbox Productions made a post saying, "Someone is spamming
A single
him,
bag of
telling him to
Doritos.
post a bunch of videos
I want
with
Doritos, bro.
threats. Whoever it is, you need to stop. He is now at risk of losing housing. If you are trolling him, you are a disgusting human being." A little while later, the same account
I'm sorry, like he's spitting, but I feel like whoever's telling him to do that don't really care about being a bad human being. You know what I mean? I feel like they kind of put that aside for this.
would return with an original post to the behind the scenes of Daniel's current circumstances. One of the current managers made a long post titled "Announcement from the Current Team," saying, "Hello Daniel fans, as I am sure you are aware, there is a lot of speculation on his current management. To start off, we don't support the idea of managers, which is why we don't refer to ourselves as that. We don't tell Daniel what to do or post, and we don't get any financial benefit from him like music royalties.
I
The only
doubt
reason
that.
we do what we do is that if it wasn't us talking to Daniel on a daily basis, some 14-year-old troll would be. They could make Daniel send them all his money and tell him to go live naked saying the N-word. If you've been paying attention to him recently, you would notice that he doesn't go naked on live, say slurs, post racist stuff, etc. Because we are guiding him on the right path while keeping trolls away from him. He does say a few interesting things here and there on his own, but we don't tell him what to say or do. We give him advice to point him in the right direction, but Daniel has power over himself. As for the financial stuff, we don't control any of his existing financial accounts, such as Cash App or bank accounts. We created one Cash App as a way to allow fans to donate money that would actually benefit him. He doesn't have the best spending habits and either invests money into stocks with poor financial knowledge, gambles it away at Blackhawk, or spends it on expensive food such as a $20 burger at an upscale restaurant. With the Cash App that we created, donations will still go to Daniel, but they will be going towards his basic needs first. He gets sent that money to pay for meals, transportation, and any other expenses that are worthy. We make no profits, and the only time that money leaves that account is when it's going to Daniel. Our team is not a bunch of 14-year-olds who want to use money. Most of us are in our 20s and are only doing this because we care about Daniel's well-being. Unfortunately, his support systems such as SSI, his case manager services, and family and friends around him do not suit his situation very well, which is pretty obvious by the fact that
I
he is
hope it's
homeless
true,
and
bro. I
can't
really do
afford
hope it's
food.
true.
We are
But
in
I feel like it's
contact
not.
with his case manager and
Maybe
a close
my
family
optimism
friend,
has
and they
has
are aware of
lessened.
what we are doing. Our end goal is to put Daniel in a position where he doesn't have to worry about where the money for his next meal is from. Utilize better spending habits, use critical thinking to tell trolls apart from the good people, ensure that he gets a roof over his head, and his safety as the most important things, because trolls could and have convinced him into harming himself. In order to meet those goals, we do plan on helping Daniel establish some more diverse ways of making money, such as possibly setting up a merchandise store, other donation apps, stable investments, etc. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them.
I really
Here,
hope
they
this
make
is
reference
true.
to
I
Daniel
hope it
saying
is.
the N-word, which I've
Oh.
neglected to mention up until this point. Though there are a multitude of cases of Daniel being manipulated by trolls into doing things he shouldn't, his extensive use of the N-word seems to come from his own volition, since during the Mohawk era, when someone tries the age-old technique of first name Nick, last name Gurr on him, he points it out and says he won't fall for it, proceeding to boldly say it anyway, a la Terry Davis. Regardless of this little caveat, not only did the post seem truthful, but the general reaction to it was extremely positive, as at this point, people have developed a positive parasocial relationship with Daniel, actually wishing him to succeed, whatever that word means at this point. The empathy reached to a boiling point when people discovered that Daniel had indeed lost housing because of his antics, as more videos of the holes in his walls surfaced. Parallel to all of this cacophony of events, Daniel sends a message to Quandale Dingle.
This is a message to Quandale Dingle.
No way.
Please stop messaging me.
What is he doing in this?
Go to hell.
Oh,
I'm
word.
honestly unsure of what Mr. Dingle did to warrant this kind of treatment, but I'm sure he deserved it, as Daniel is known for his
Quandale Dingle
fairness.
here.
A while after the dust settles, Daniel is charged yet again with a crime, this time dine and dashing a Hard Rock Cafe, a case which is still open to this day, probably for the same reasons as the last one. Apparently, this is just one of many cases of Daniel doing this, either showing the restaurant's tab on livestream in hopes of someone paying for it, or promising that Bob Proctor would pay for it. Most restaurants, in a mix of generosity and pity, took notice that Daniel wasn't exactly a normal person and preferred to let him off without a criminal charge, instead just banning him from the premises permanently. On the 15th of May, after the brief period of Daniel voluntarily becoming homeless, something unprecedented occurs. He decided to run the Denver Colfax Marathon, with actual video of him doing it, and he finished second to last because he jogged the whole way through while live streaming. It's good to know he at least remained active during his homelessness. In an old Twitter account of his, he'd already claimed to have won in Special Olympics swimming, so him being minimally athletic isn't a complete surprise. Just a week later, Daniel posted a video of an altercation of his with an unknown man. In the video, we learn that Danderson was trespassing on his private property, sitting around in his patio and charging his phone on an outlet. When the man becomes confrontational, our most eloquent and diplomatic Mr. President ranges from being completely silent and uncooperative to calling this guy the N-word. Does it get any better than that? During his time as a homeless raving madman, Daniel used his case manager at the time, Andrew, as the scapegoat for all of his problems. This included pretending to have entered a coma in order to get sympathy from people online over his disagreements with Andrew, accusing him of stealing over $3,000 from Daniel's teeming music career and threatening to initiate a lawsuit against him and other managers, just to name a few. Meanwhile, Daniel speaks at a...
Again, this may sound mean. I don't mean to be mean about this, but Daniel looks like the most stereotypical homeless man, like the cartoon caricature of a homeless man. And that's not, I don't mean to be mean about that, but that's just what I think when I look at him now.
a Roe v. Wade reversal protest because they made the terrible mistake of making it an open mic. Over the few minutes his speech lasted, he commented on the times he got naked online and his obsession with Grace Vanderwall. Having realized their major screw-up, an organizer stepped in and stopped Daniel from going into details about his career as a professional adult film actor. This speech, though brief, resulted in some pretty golden quotes, such as, "Because of my autism, my grandmother passed away of cancer." If you are wondering where Daniel stands on the issue of abortion, which you should be considering he is the President of the United States as we speak, his honest opinion is, thank you for your support. Around the same
little political,
time, Daniel
but
did a
I'll
video
let it
and
slide.
live stream with TikToker and YouTuber Brinks, which brought a significant amount of attention to Daniel's story. Despite Brinks' best efforts, in one of the live streams, the Danderson we all know, and not exactly love, leaks through as it appears Daniel asks for a one-night stand with a young woman of indeterminate age. Believe it or not, the story pretty much only worsens from here on out. In June, Daniel announces that Bob, who was secretly financing Daniel's entire operation, housing, and music career up until this point, would no longer be able to afford it. The next few days become very chaotic and effectively untraceable, as most of Daniel's next moves would take place in Discord servers and a new TikTok account which is now deleted. One concrete thing that did come out of this brief time was Daniel's second, and last to this date, studio recorded song called Something More, which he asked Papa Gut, who had been keeping up and commenting on Daniel's career
W.
so
Gut.
far, to review, though the TikTok in which he did this is unfortunately gone. With his housing still up in the air, Daniel announces that his court cases have been merged into one, and that he has to be psychologically evaluated in order for him to avoid a prison sentence of any kind. He follows this up with more information. His case manager, Andrew, was fired, and that Daniel would be returning to his previous case manager, Reva, who, according to him, was even worse. In 2 deleted TikToks on the 13th of July, he bowls and plays mini golf with Brink, and announces he will move from Denver to New York in a few months. About 1 week later, a new video surfaces of Daniel sticking a toothbrush in his anus and brushing his teeth with it. Then
Oh, what? You're just gonna throw that in there? This is the 3rd time on this channel we have to. Why is it? Wait, no. Why? Okay, Cyrax, Chris, and now Daniel all did it. They all put something up they bum. All of them. It's like, why do you gotta keep retreading this area?
he goes to Hooters with Brink and breaks a pair of headphones that he bought with $400, acquired through Twitch donations. In another upload, which is still up on TikTok as of the writing of this video, though probably not for very long if we've learned anything about Daniel, he once again claims he is homeless, and this time, in an even worse way, as his phone is broken and he can't text or call anyone. It's unknown how this video was even uploaded. He somehow got access to the internet again and posts to TikTok saying he's been diagnosed with trench foot. Ah, yes, trench foot, the condition soldiers from the First World War got from spending months walking around in subterranean mud. Daniel has that. A while passes, and Daniel is seen live streaming while gambling at a casino. There is absolutely no rhyme or reason for this man being let into a casino. How does he even have money to gamble? He's literally homeless. It seems as if things were coming to a head, and they were getting really intense and dangerous for Daniel. Fortunately, or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, even the best of stories have to come to an end. On December 10th, 2022, Daniel went live on TikTok while he spoke to Bob Proctor in his car, and they were definitely having an altercation of some sort, though what it was over is hard to understand clearly, as Daniel is screaming that the motel was trying to kill him. In the clips we have of it, Daniel is hitting himself as he is known to do, while accusing Bob of hitting him and breaking his arm as Bob begged him to leave his car. However, after the end of the live stream, Daniel then hits Bob, who proceeds to call the police on him. People on his subreddits, even his diehard fans, were finding it very hard to sympathize with him after this, as Bob was one of the few people who had never done Daniel wrong. And here we clearly saw Daniel gaslighting and terrorizing this innocent old man. Immediately following the incident, Bob buys Daniel a ticket to California, presumably due to the 5150 laws in the state. During his time in California, he is cited at a strip club. Ox, the person who was managing Daniel's online presence, decides Daniel is unhelpable and does his best to prevent Daniel from posting to any kind of social media. Though there are still new happenings in the Larson-verse pretty much on the daily, people have largely given up on the notion that something will redeem him. It certainly does not help him that, to this day, there are new examples coming out of Daniel doing things that range from creepy.
Who let him around a child? Bro, whoever is the parent of this child has to not know him. Has to just think he's just some regular homeless guy.
To outright disturbing and illegal to minors online. How this story will end, only time will tell.
Bro, this is gross.
Hopefully, he does get put
This
in
is-
some
this is
institution
actually gross.
permanently, as it seems he won't be doing any of us, or himself, any good on the outside. I've been Turkey Tom. This has been the story of Daniel Larson, and until next time, leave me alone.
God damn. I'm gonna start a Daniel Larson themed. Do not. Get the fuck out of here, Elmo. Do not. Jesus. Why? At least this one has an ending. Okay, at least we can. We hopefully can write this out of our books. We can cross his name out of the checklist. So soon, Cyrax will be done. Then we'll be just finish the Christian, and hopefully we'll be done with that as well.